Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. It's that time again for a buy this, not that. We've been very busy in the shop, had tons of content going on, and we've actually kind of been slacking in the buy this, not that department. But that's what this video is going to be today. Let's get started. So welcome back, guys. Today's video is going to be on 5 of the best economical vehicles out there as far as fuel economy, and 5 of the worst. These are going to be some of the picks that I've made over the years of working in the shop, hearing customer stories, what's desirable, what's not desirable, and some of the horror stories as well. It's not typically based on something you'd read on Consumer Reports or something you can Google. It would be based on what I've experienced here in the shop. Keep in mind, this is not electric vehicle only. This is fossil fuel powered vehicles. Somehow or another, they have to be powered by fossil fuels. So that's the type of cars or trucks and things we're doing today. These vehicles are not going to be $30,000 and $40,000 and $80,000 vehicles. They're going to be vehicles that are more in budget minded, $3,000 to $5,000, some maybe a little more on some others, but that's typically the range we're looking at today. And as you can see behind me, this whole row of cars is not fuel efficient. They're going to be gas guzzlers, most of them. And these cars are also very expensive. If you buy these types of cars that are in this row behind me, you're not really concerned about fuel economy. So without further ado, let's get started. One of the ones I would recommend to buy is a late 90s Geo Metro. Now I know you guys think, well, those aren't hardly on the road anymore, but they are. There's quite a few of them here in town. When I go to lunch during the week, I'll see 2 or 3 zooming around town. In the car clubs I'm members of here in the Wichita area, a lot of the younger guys are actually seeking these cars out. It's that cool 90s retro fuel economy car. A lot of people are buying them up. Check it out, guys, I got a Metro, I found one. And they're not the greatest looking car in the world, but for what you spend and for what you get is actually really good. These would have the 1-liter 3-cylinder. It's a baby little engine. It's tiny. You could have gotten an automatic, but I would recommend the 5-speed manual. That's the one that would get the best economy. You can typically find these cars on Marketplace or Craigslist or wherever it is that you search for cars. $1,500 to $2,000. That's a really low entry price to get a vehicle that gets as good as or more miles per gallon than some cars you can buy that are $40,000. These cars will typically get 35 to 40 miles per gallon in the city. That's not on the highway. That's in the city, zooming around town. It gets as good mileage in town than a Honda Civic does on the highway. A lot of the guys I know that have actually purchased one of these have honest 50 miles per gallon on the highway. At least 45. Depending on your driving habits, you can squeeze 50 miles per gallon out of these. And you didn't have to spend $40,000 on a new Prius. It's really cheap to buy, cheap to maintain, they're fairly reliable, and the gas mileage is astronomical, really high. So that one definitely is number 1 on my list. Now I'm going to move on to the do not buy, but keep in mind, these cars are not really correlated as classes or styles of vehicles. They're just vehicles that I picked that either had really good mileage or really bad. That's just really the theme here. One I recommend not to buy, 2008 to 2013 Chevrolet Tahoe Hybrid. These have a 6-liter V8. They have a CVT transmission, which we know from my QB that I just bought is actually a bad buy, especially if you can't do the work yourself. And so you spend the money on one of these hybrids, a Tahoe Hybrid, and you're thinking, all right, I'm in the 30 mile per gallon range now. Wrong. No, you're not. In fact, you're really not that much more than a standard 5.3 Vortec V8. 20 in the city, 23 on the highway. You can almost get that with a 5.3 Vortec. 14 in the city, 18, and some people have talked about 20 on the highway. The difference there is very small. The difference in repair prices, maintenance, and things that can go wrong is 10 times as high as a normal Tahoe. These would really not be worth the hassle. When things do go wrong on one of these, it's not $500 or $800. It's more like $3,000, $5,000 for 2 or 3 more miles per gallon. Totally not worth it. I recommend one of those not to buy.
At Car Wizard, a lot of people are going to say, but the hybrid is better for the environment.
It is as far as fuel economy, but like I said, it's not that much more fuel economy. And you have the batteries that are in the vehicle. What do you do with those when they're expended, when they're dead? You throw them in the landfill or in the bottom of the ocean? That's going to be something with electric cars. It's going to be a big issue. Where do all these batteries go? So no, it's not really that much greener, I guess. Now, number 2 I recommend to buy is 2004 to 2009 second gen Toyota Prius. My oldest daughter actually owns one of these cars. We bought one from Euro-Asian Bob, and it's been very, very good. Other than oil changes and normal maintenance, it just goes and goes and goes. And she's getting really good gas mileage too. These cars, even as they're getting up in age and miles, have been proven to be extremely reliable. Where people would be scared of a hybrid and battery issues, the second gen Prius is proving that not to be an issue to be afraid of. They're getting 200,000 and 300,000 miles on original batteries. Now they do degrade over time a little bit, but it's still working and doing the job. It's really amazing for what you can spend, which are typically $3,000 to $5,000 for a second gen Prius, a nice one. And you can have a modern car that gets really good mileage. Now with all hybrids, the numbers are going to be kind of backwards. Your city is higher than highway. But in the city, you can get 45 or 50 in the city, and about 35 to 40 on the highway with a Prius. On a constant steady cruise, hybrid is not going to help you so much on the highway when you've got your cruise set at 70 miles an hour. It's no longer really using the electric advantage to get you going, it's just cruising. But like I said, they're very reliable. It's a very good car. You can find articles all over Google showing that these cars are proving to be extremely, extremely reliable. The one I recommend not to buy for number 2 is a 2008 Volkswagen Touareg or Easter egg, whatever you want to call it, that has the V10 TDI. These would have the 5-liter turbo diesel V10 with an automatic transmission. They do have a lot of power, 310 horsepower, 550 pounds of torque. That's really pretty powerful. But the fuel economy is not there. So it's easy to think, all right, I got a TDI. I'm up there in the high miles per gallon. No, you're not. Your miles per gallon are going to be equivalent to a Ford, a Chevy, half-ton pickup truck with a V8. You can expect 15 miles per gallon in the city and 19 or 20 on the highway. Now maybe some of you say, well, my friend has one, he got 24, but I don't buy it, because I know some people that have had them and they're like, I have never gotten over 20. It's that or lower, and usually lower. And we live in Kansas where there's no hills or mountains or anything. It's just flat for miles. You should be getting really good mileage, and these people aren't. And when they break, extremely, extremely expensive. Any money you might have saved on a few miles per gallon fuel economy is lost. I mean drastically lost when something goes wrong on one of these. You can get a modern pickup truck with a medium-sized V8 that has the power anymore of the V10 Touareg, Easter egg, whatever you want to call it. So don't get one of those guys.
And Car Wizard, in actuality, won't it actually cost more to put fuel into this car because it's a diesel?
Yeah, you can expect the fuel to cost 20% more. Right now in Kansas, gas is about $1.80 a gallon. But if you pull in to get some diesel, you're going to pay about $2.30 a gallon. $2.20, $2.30, $2.40, depending on what station you go to. It's going to be about 20% more for fuel. So your savings are gone. You lost your savings. Now, on to the next. The next one I recommend to buy is 2010 to 2014 Honda Insight. I guess it would be the second gen Insight. Mrs. Wizard actually had one of these for a while. It was actually a really good car. These have a 1.3 liter 4-cylinder engine, and it does have a CVT transmission, but the Honda CVTs have been proven to be actually fairly reliable compared to the other CVTs on the market. So it's not that bad of a deal on a Honda. I think the one when we bought it new that we had was 19 or 20 grand, and now they're 3 to 5 in that range. The value drops because people are afraid of the batteries. These are not going to get as good as mileage as a Prius. They don't really operate like a Prius. A Prius can take off at moderate speeds in electric only. If you take it easy on the gas pedal, you can leave a stoplight and get up to almost to city driving speeds with electric only. That doesn't happen on the Insight or any of the Honda IMA integrated motor assist engines. Those just give you a little extra added torque to get going along with the gas engine. They don't ever operate on electric only, so there's kind of a loss in fuel savings there. These you can expect 42 city, 45 highway, and that's typically what we got when we had it. No, it's not Prius numbers, but they're pretty good. They're better than a Honda Civic non-hybrid, which can get about 32, 34, 5 on the highway. You can expect another almost 8 to 10 miles per gallon with an Insight, which is pretty decent, not too bad. And based on the fact that you only spent $3 to $5 grand to buy it, it's really not bad at all. It's a decent car. If you have a battery replacement on a Prius, there's a lot more batteries, and the Prius has lithium-ion batteries. The Insight has round nickel metal hydride batteries. I think that's what it is, something like that. They're different style batteries, and there's less batteries in an Insight. There's less power there. They would be cheaper to replace. You could buy a new battery pack for an Insight for $800 or $1,000, but a Prius, a complete new pack, it might be double that. That's something to keep in mind with hybrids, I guess, those two hybrids. And number 3, for the one I recommend not to buy, is a mid-90s Saab 9000. And you say, Car Wizard, what brings that up? And the thing is you buy one of these cars with a 2.3 4-cylinder and a manual transmission, and you think, this should get good gas mileage. I could probably expect 25 or 30 on the highway. No. You can read forums online all over the place, check Google, that have some of the worst gas mileage cars listed. The Saab 9000 is in a lot of those lists. For what it should be and what it actually is really, really bad. You can expect 15 in the city, 18 on the highway. That's it. Out of a 2.3 4-cylinder. There's old Ford trucks going around that get better gas mileage. My old 87 Grand Marquis gets better gas mileage than that with a 5-liter V8. That's really, really sad. So if you're checking and you say, oh, I always wanted a Saab, there's a Saab 9000 for sale. That's fine if you want to get the car, just expect Ford F-150 gas mileage. And they're horrible to work on. Jenny has an uncle that worked on a lot of these cars in the late 80s, early 90s, and he said Saabs were always a sob story. Yes, there's the joke, a running joke, sob story. But he said those were the worst cars to work on in his entire career, ever, were Saabs. So, based on that and the gas mileage, that's huge strikes against that car. Number 4 recommend to buy is an early 2000s Volkswagen Jetta TDI. And Jenny's sister and brother-in-law actually had one of these for a while. And it was not uncommon for them to get on the highway 50 miles per gallon, sometimes 52, 53. If they were on a 60-mile-an-hour road, it's really, really good. And these have a 1.9-liter turbo diesel. And I really recommend the manual. You can get an automatic, but the best mileage is with a manual. You can pick these up for $3,000 to $4,000 on Marketplace or wherever it is you search for cars for a nice one. And you can get 35 to 40 miles per gallon in the city and 50 or more on the highway. You can find these cars with 150, 200,000 miles that still have quite a bit of life left in them. And you can get them for a fairly good price. Like I said, $3,000 to $4,000 is not bad. And the one, number 4, that I would recommend not to buy is the early 2000s Ford Excursion V10. Or any of the trucks, Ford trucks with a V10 really. They do have a little bit more power, 310 horsepower, 425 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty decent. And this is out of a 6.8-liter V10 with an automatic. You could get a manual as well, but it doesn't make a difference with these really. And you can expect in the city 8 miles per gallon. Yeah, okay, I get it. In the city it's pretty high. It should be a lot better on the highway. No, it's not. It's 11. 11 miles per gallon on the highway. Now you're in the range of an 06 Lamborghini Murcielago. It gets about that same kind of mileage. But you sure don't have the power. Guys, you can buy a modern Dodge Ram Hemi or even some of the modern Ford trucks of EcoBoosts V6 that has the power of this V10 and get twice the gas mileage. Twice the gas mileage. So V10s really come down to novelty. They're neat, they sound cool, it's kind of neat to have one, but I believe it'll be, especially as gas prices, if they ever go back up again, no one will even think about the V10s. They'll be like, nah. And the cost to repair these are like a 5.4 Ford. They can be. If you get the earlier V10s that don't have variable valve timing, they're not too bad. They're not too bad to work on. But the people I have known that own these say, yeah, it's got good power, and I knew it would have bad gas mileage, but man, after I've driven it for a year or 2 years or whatever, he said, it's eating me out of house and home. I've got to get rid of this car. This is what one guy told me. He's like, I've got to get rid of this truck. It's horrible on fuel. The last one I recommend to buy is early 2000s Buick Le Sabre. This would have the venerable 3.8 V6 and an automatic. And no, it doesn't get 50 miles per gallon, but it does get 30 to 32 on the highway for a car that's really big. A large-sized car that can fit a family of 4 very comfortably and ride almost like a Cadillac. These you can expect 20 miles per gallon in the city, and like I said, 30 or more on the highway. I knew a guy that had almost 400,000 miles on his Le Sabre. It was a 2000 Buick Le Sabre. He was still on the highway getting 30 to 32 miles per gallon. Really good. And they're really, really reliable and cheap to fix. Very, very cheap to work on. These cars are so reliable, in fact, that you can expect the car to rust to oblivion, the body to rust out, before the engine dies. They last a long time, and they're fairly decent on gas, so I really recommend those. And the last one I'm getting ready to reveal is pretty obvious. It's like, duh, Car Wizard. We know that's going to be horrible on gas. But I'm bringing this one up just as a joke. How bad can it get? That's what we're talking about here. And that will be early 1970s Lincoln Continental with the big block 460 V8 and a 3-speed automatic. And this would have a 4-barrel carburetor. These things are horrible on gas. We already all know that. We know that. But how bad are they? In the city, you can expect 4 to 5 miles per gallon. You think, okay, I get it. On the highway, you should be getting 12 or 15. Nope, 7. 7 to 8 on the highway. It's very hard to break into the 10 range in these cars. Now, nobody has these cars very much anymore. They're not all over the road. I know that. I'm just bringing it up because it's kind of funny. It's like, wow, that is so horrible on gas. One of these cars, you could pay $50 or $60 to fill it up with gas, and it would go 120 miles, and you're back on empty again. Think about that. Some of us wouldn't even make it through our work week, and we've already gone through $70, $60, or $50 in gas. Every few days, $60 in gas. A few days later, $60 in gas. It's really, really bad. So, I just brought that one up as kind of a joke. It's crazy how bad they were. Luckily, the gas crisis came along in the late 70s, and also the fact that gas is not so cheap anymore. That's what killed these type of cars and drove us into more economical cars. And it's only gotten better since. I frequently have customers come in the shop and say, I'm looking for a car. What would be one with good gas mileage? What would be something with really bad gas mileage? And I've heard that enough times, I decided to finally do a video on it. So that's kind of why we did this video today. It'll kind of help you guys out for if you're looking for a good economical car, maybe for a daughter or son that's going to college or something that's really good on fuel. Any of those cars I listed would be really good. And for some of you who are thinking, I'd like an SUV, and if I get the Touareg, Easter egg, whatever, with the TDI, I could get good gas mileage. No, you won't. There's several of them that are surprising. It's like, oh, you don't get good gas mileage. No, you don't. The list could go on, guys. I could sit here and list 50 on each side that could just keep going and going. And many of you could list in the comments some of the experience that you've had, one that's good or one that's bad on gas, or one that was surprisingly good or bad on gas. So thanks for following along, guys. Hopefully the information helps you out. Make sure to check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. There's tools I have for sale that I use in the shop. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button already, I really recommend you do that now. We got many, many more cool videos to come. And more yacht videos as soon as we can get some time to work on the thing. We've been busy, guys. Thanks for watching.